Welcome to the NebraskaLand Bank Podcast.
I'm Ty.
I'm David.
I'm Danielle, and we're your hosts. In each episode, we'll sit down with local guests to highlight the incredible people and stories that make our community unique.
From finance to sports, community events to local businesses, we've got it all covered. Join us as we dive into the heart of our community.
This is the NebraskaLand Bank Podcast, always community-minded.
Every voice.
Every topic.
Every time.
So turn the volume up, settle in,
and let's talk NebraskaLand.
Welcome back to the NebraskaLand Bank Podcast. Season 3 is here, and we're thrilled to present some incredible episodes highlighting exciting developments and businesses in North Platte. Welcome back, Ty.
Hey, welcome back to the studio.
So what's new for Season 3?
Well, Season 3 is going to be a lot of fun. We've been able to gather data from prior downloads, and we think we have a feel for what people are interested in. So we're going to try to keep talking about things that energize North Platte, things that are new and exciting in North Platte, and growth of this community. So I'm excited for Season 3.
Yeah, it's always fun to hear from the community members and our loyal listeners, the people who are like, I'm so glad you're back.
Yeah, it's very flattering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of 3, we have 3 hosts now, right?
We do.
So we've got Mr. David Fudge over on the mixing board, but you've got a microphone, don't you, David?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I feel kind of official now. We have like a mixing board guy with a microphone. This is big time, Danielle.
Eases Danielle's anxiety so much. You have no idea.
They told me new career, and then they put me in a studio with a console and a computer, and it feels like an old career again.
He's at home.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yes, we've got his professional skills with us today. Well, he's not the only one in the studio today, and I'm really excited to introduce Jim and Janelle Hawks, proud owners of Brothers Tavern, with us today.
This is really fun. This is kind of outside of our comfort zone to be in a studio.
You would have been in a couple in your career probably prior.
I have, David. I've used to do mugs in the morning and other things like that, but this is the first time as the owner of Brothers Tavern.
Well, we like to kick off our episodes with an icebreaker question. So today's icebreaker question kind of goes with the theme of Brothers Tavern, and it's, what's your go-to Cody Keno game or numbers? And I'll just start. I don't have one. It's very if I play, which is seldom, it's like just whatever sounds good. I do have some lucky numbers, but I can't tell you what they are.
So you're just kind of fly by the seat of your pants player?
My pants. I'm just like, what feels right? It hasn't served me very well.
Well, let's go to the pros. Jim, give us a little about your Keno history.
Well, I guess we've always played a little bit. We haven't played a lot, but I was fortunate on a quick pick here several months ago to win the Progressive, which was quite an exciting time. But again, those were just quick pick numbers. I really don't have any numbers that I play all the time.
The advice there might be to let them pick the numbers for you.
That might be true, actually.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Janelle, do you have lucky numbers?
Yes, I do, but I'm not going to say what they are. I should, because they don't win. So maybe if anybody else plays them, maybe then they would come in. But I love the pick 3 catch-alls with the multiplier. So I always pick 3 numbers, play it with the multiplier, and when they come in, they pay off a little bit, but not enough of what I pay in.
Yeah. I've had people from the Keno Arena tell me that the 3-number catch-all has really good odds compared to other types of Keno, right? Is that
yeah, that's why I picked the 3.
True, yeah. And the other thing about Keno is that we have a lot of people that come in, and that's the only reason. And they'll sit there and either have a glass of pop or a water or a tea or whatever, and sit there for a couple hours and play Keno. And like you say, we probably have a dozen people at least that do that on a daily basis. So it's really great for us to have Keno in Brothers Tavern.
So I have to make an admission here. When I heard that you two bought that place, I went, what in the world would he want to retire from the city of North Platte for, and all the things you dealt with in that role over the years, and go into the bar restaurant scene, which has got to be just, sometimes the stress level just got to be incredible.
Well, you know what I say? If
Tell
you
me.
look up the word crazy in the dictionary, you're going to see Jim and my picture in it under the definition of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can see that, yeah.
Well, and I'm a retired nurse, so I kind of feel like I stayed in the same business, doing a lot of social work and listening. And we've had somebody come in with a scraped up knee, so I bandaged his knee, and somebody fell outside, and I sat with him until the ambulance got there. And so I'm still in the medical field.
Now, you guys have had it for a little while now, but not quite 2 years, a year and a half, about a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and 8 months.
Yeah, a year and 8 months. And if you don't mind going back, I'm sure our listeners would love to hear about how you got interested in owning it and how did you make your decision?
It really goes back quite a ways because Mother, Janelle, and I used to go in there after work and have a drink or whatever before we went home. And we lived across the street from Alice Lang, who was the mother of Gary and Kevin, who were the brothers that owned the Tavern. And over the years, we've gotten to know them very well, and talks of us at least having a first right of refusal on it probably go back 2 years before we finally did buy it. And we kept telling them, that if they ever got to the point where they wanted to sell, that we would at least like an opportunity to do it. And Gary and Kevin, I'll tell you kind of a funny one, they kept laying it off on each other. They'd say, well, I'm ready to sell, but the other one's not. And you'd talk to the other one, he'd say, well, I'm ready to sell, but the other one's not. So about Thanksgiving time, or a little bit before that, I told Mother that we needed to get him over to the house, sit down at the table over a cup of coffee and say, the time's right for us. So if you guys are time's right for you, then let's sit down and talk turkey here and make a deal. And we did, and everything just kind of fell into place with it. And, of course, we worked with NebraskaLand Bank to do it. Their people were great in helping us get it put together. It's been great, and it keeps us out in the community. We've kind of changed the demographic a little bit of those that come in, but it's just been a really good experience for us. And Mother, you can tell them about the fact that this is something you've always wanted to do.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated with bartenders. They just look like they have so much fun, and they're back there mixing drinks and talking and stuff, and anybody that knows me knows I like to talk. I always told Jim, I said, someday I want to be a bartender. So when this all came up, it was like, and David, you said something about stress, and actually it's not really that stressful. It's more fun than anything. And we've got good people that's working, and we've worked hard on food, and our youngest son, Nate, he cooks for us, and our oldest son is a CPA, so he kind of helps us with all the tax work and stuff. And so that kind of takes some of the stress away from what we have or would have, because they're really, both boys are highly involved. And this year we've been able to kind of get away a couple of times. We've taken a week off here and there because the boys step in and help. And like I said, we have good staff right now, so that has helped.
So what are each of your roles and responsibilities within the business? Janelle's the bartender, I take it.
Well actually, she runs the front of the house, basically. When we get there in the morning, I get all the books balanced and get everything entered into my spreadsheets. Then usually make a trip down here. And really, Mother's job is to work with the girls and the food. She collaborates with Nate a lot on that, does the scheduling. So like I say, basically she runs the front of the house.
I do some cooking. Before Nate came on board, I did a lot of cooking in the kitchen and stuff. In fact, last summer, I worked in the kitchen every day for probably 6 weeks, every day from time we get in there until about 5:30 or 6. But now that he cooks, I can get some food started and stuff, but he kind of takes over. So I help with ordering, and Nate and I collaborate a lot with ordering food and seeing what we need to put on our list. And I get to mess with food, and I still get to bartend a little bit and talk to all of our regulars, and it's just fun.
It's been kind of funny, too, on that, because in May, we'll be married 48 years. And I've always told her, I said, you're a great cook. And all you got to do is look at me to know that. And she always said, no, I'm not. I just cook plain old food or whatever. But I think between her and Nate, a lot of our people would tell you that the food's pretty good at Brothers.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you the food's very good at Brothers, so I'm a fan. As I'm in there, I feel like you guys have really honored the history of the Lang family and the business, but then you've also done some things to make it your own. Do you mind talking about some of the things you guys have done to make it yours?
Brothers has been there for a long time, and, we kind of knew what the inventory and things were, but for the first year at least, we've probably plowed back most of our earnings back into the business. We've replaced the carpet. We redid the tap system. We've reupholstered all the chairs and booths. Replaced all the freezers.
We've upgraded around the pool area.
Yeah.
Replaced the floor and we've painted that. Put new lights in around the pool area, so that's all updated. Slowly starting to paint.
Oh, and that's one of those things that it's always nice to see it done, but it's kind of a mess while they're doing it. And Tracy Jackson's been doing it for us, and she does a wonderful job. And, I also should probably mention Marcia Reese, who's done all the reupholstering for us on all the chairs and booths. And just last week, we finally got the corner booth in, so all of those are completed now, and she's done a great job for us on that.
It's truly been a community process, because going into this, we went in and we'd sit at the bar, and that was our experience of being in a bar. And so going into it, we had no idea how many businesses that we would work with to provide the whole service that we now provide. It's we use Troyers and Shabans and it's Snell's and Culligan's. There's so many businesses that are essential for us to be successful. And I guess going into this, he was probably more informed as to how many businesses we'd be working with, but I truly was not expecting, so many local businesses and stuff, and it's been truly rewarding because everybody has wanted us to be successful. Somebody told us just the other day the percentage of bars/restaurants that go into business and they're closing within a year or so because they can't make it. And here we're going on our second, and we're still building and doing great. We're still paying you, Ty.
Yeah, another thing that we really liked going back to when we bought this, and I knew this from years ago when I had done some work for Noddle down there. And we do actually own our building, which is another reason why we were interested in it, because not only the business, but we own the building, so that if something does happen, we can just take care of it ourselves. We don't have to go through somebody else to take care of it. And we're building equity in that also.
It's a neat story how the transition's gone with everything with you guys' ownership. Now, in my world, there's not 4 seasons a year. There's 2. There's football season and non-football season, okay? In non-football season, I read more finance and important things, and I learn more. And then in football, you got to think about football every day, right? Right, Danielle?
Yeah.
Are you going to do a little better on the Super Bowl pick this year, by the way? So
I don't understand this. Has he got something on you on that? Because I've heard this several times.
Supposedly he's won a couple of competitions.
Okay, all right.
Friendly
we can talk about that later. I'm sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
The loan department appreciates their annual breakfast on behalf of Danielle, but anyway. Brothers is a fantastic place to watch a football game. I've always, if you want to get your whole family together or a big group of friends, you guys can handle, you can come in there by yourself.
Yes.
You come in there with your spouse or a friend, 2 or 3 of you, or you could bring a group of 20 in. And that's what's cool about Brothers. So talk to us about football season. Why is it a great place to watch the game?
Well, as you said, we got TVs all over the bar there, and we subscribe to all the pluses and all the extra stations that you now have to watch them. But I've always played football, and I guess I've always been interested in that, and we've started to put together some things going into football season. We always have drawings for different giveaways, and that brings a lot of people in. But like you said, Ty, it's just kind of a nice family-oriented atmosphere, and we always seem to have a good crowd.
And we always have specials to eat. You know, not only are you watching football, but we've got good specials. And like Jim said, we have giveaways at each end of the quarter and at half and at the end of the game. And they're always fun because every time you buy a drink, you get a ticket, and then it goes into a bucket. So we draw that out. And so that's Jim's department. He buys all the giveaways. So I've been bugging him for the last month. You need to start buying. So far, you haven't.
Yeah, and we like to get that stuff posted so everybody knows, you know, what is going to be going on. And along with your specials for the appetizers, we're also having buckets, aren't we?
Yeah, buckets of beer and drink specials. And we've got a new drink that is good. I'm calling it the Husker drink. Or Husker Margarita, I guess is what we're calling it.
The bucket of beer, doesn't that take you back to college?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you'll have to come back and reminisce with a bucket of beer at our place.
That was a good idea in the 90s, and it's a good idea today.
Yeah. Just in more moderation today. Than
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It
We've
was
aged
even a
just
good
little
idea in
bit.
the 70s.
Yeah.
So you've worked long, successful careers working apart from one another. How is it now that you're working alongside one another?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's a funny question.
After about the first month, I think it was, I told Mother, I said, I need to talk to you for a minute. She said, what? And I said, you know, I'm not real sure we were ever meant to work together. Her style's a little bit different than mine.
Yeah. I managed nurses, so managing healthcare people is a whole different thing of managing a bar, as you can imagine. And he was used to his job and management, and it was like, no, you don't do it that way.
Yeah.
But that's why we've kind of split our
duties
up, and so we're not crossing over.
In fact, every morning I have to ask, so what are we having today? Because her and Nate put together whatever it is, and, you know, that's great because they do a great job with it, so I don't have to worry about it. But the other thing, as I mentioned earlier there, we've kind of changed the demographic. We do have a lot more business people coming in. The sheriff, he comes in almost every day for lunch. We've had the police chief in, city councilman in, county commissioners, and she keeps razzing me that, you know, I have a little consulting business going on the side because they'll wave me in the back and say, I want to talk to you about something. So we go back and talk it over, and I try and be as helpful as I can and yet not get too deep into things. But like you say, it's just been a good experience for us all the way around.
Yeah, that consulting business I've used a few times. I don't think I've paid a fee for that consultation, though.
I know I've used it a time or two.
Well, that's something else that she keeps telling me. She said, you know,
you need to charge for it.
I'm going to get cover charge for lunch, but I appreciate the advice either way. Yeah. No.
It almost sounds like an a la carte add-on item where you know, if you just want a sandwich, it's this, and if you want,
that's a good idea. I'm always looking for good ideas.
Hey, this is the idea department. You've come to the idea department today. We've got a lot of ideas. I don't know if they're all good, but we've got a lot of ideas.
I like that idea.
Danielle, as we move through, start into season 3 here, I was a fan of in season 2 of your Asking for a Friend segment. So are you going to continue that here in season 3?
Yeah, we are. And today I have a really good question, and one that I think that both Jim and David are going to be able to provide some valuable insight to. So the question is, what advice would you give to someone looking to transition into a new career later in life? Who wants to take a shot at that one
Any of the
first?
3, they can take their turn.
Go ahead. You go first.
Mother and I both have our master's degrees, and I've always been a big advocate for education. And, you know, part of the reason for that is that a lot of times young people don't even realize what is out there. And so by going to Mid-Plains or a junior college or something in the area, they're exposed to a lot of different things which help them then transition both educationally and career-wise into something that they really like. what I would say is continue your education, always be a learner. But the other thing is that you need to be visible. You need to get involved with, one of the various organizations we have around town that young people can get into. Young professionals, I know, is one that, if you get involved with something like that, could end up doing it. But you got to be out there, you got to be active, and you got to be known in the community, and that'll help you transition, and it'll open a lot of doors for you to different things.
If you're going to change your career, it's got to be something that you're passionate about and really have a strong desire to do it, because especially where you so dramatically change what you have been doing, it's got to be something that you really love and have fun with, and that you have passion. Because at our stage of life, if we went into something that neither one of us liked or had fun at, it would be drudgery. But you got to really have passion for whatever you're changing into.
I did it backwards, right? Because normally you wouldn't quit a job without having a job. But we had an agreement out there that I would give them a long runway. And so a number of people asked me after the news came out, what are you going to do? And I went, I don't know. But to your point, we've been fairly involved in the community, and we just felt like it would take care of itself. But people kept asking me, what do you want to do? And it really made me think about it. And to your point, what are you passionate about? And for me, it was building community. I wanted to be involved with something that I could continue to be proactive in helping build community. And so when this opportunity presented itself, it was pretty easy.
Jim, I was thinking about where the city's at today and the development that's going on in the community. And, of course, the role, and you and I have talked about this before, and I've talked about it with others too, the role that you and many others at the city had 5 and 10, 15 years ago in the preparation for everything going on today. Yeah. I especially been thinking, David and I were just talking the other day about getting the town out of the floodplain in the area between the two rivers, and what role that's played and where things are at today. And so you've got to look in your parking lot and see everything going around you and just smile a little bit. Just tell me you do that a little bit on that.
I do, and this goes way back, but we live out on West Phillip, and it was somewhere in the vicinity of where we live that I was out there with Tom Harvat, who was the city engineer at that time. When I was with the county, I used to go out and actually stake floodplain elevations for new construction. And we got out there, and I had just did one west of town, and we came in, and I was watching what they were doing to put Phillip Street in, the paving, and I told Tom at that time, I said, Tom, something is really wrong here, because when I base this on actual elevations, I'm not getting the same thing that you are here in town. And so I've known for a long time that there was something wrong. And fortunately, and I'll go back, Fred Alley was the one who actually first, I think, applied for the grant that allowed us to begin the study. And I was able to follow it through. We had some good young engineers, and I would also have to say that technology has helped a great deal, because you could use things like LiDAR or whatever and get the accuracy that you needed. Once we did it the first time and it showed the big changes in it, then I could go around and kind of pick out places where, yeah, the elevation was low, but there was no way for the water to get from the rivers there. Prior to that, that's why we've seen a lot of development out south of town, up north of town, in the hills and whatever, because the flood insurance was bad. And then later on, they actually changed that to where everything was what they call submit for rate. And I had a banker call me one day, and he said, we have this piece of property that we've sold 3 times, but when we submit for rate on the floodplain, it was like $1,000 a month. I don't know if that was the number he used, but it basically made the property unusable. And I said, well, just if you can just wait, we'll get it there. And so that is probably the biggest accomplishment, because a lot of the new developments we're seeing here, whatever, would have had to deal with that had we not been able to get it changed. And I think, the way it is right now, I really do think that it's it's real close to what it should be. I know there's still one place there on the north side of the South Platte that is a little bit of a problem, but I know that the engineers that's working on that for the new housing development down there, I've talked to them a little bit, and I know that they're going to take that in consideration and allow the city to grow out that way too. Another one, though, that I feel good about is South Buffalo. I know that it was real controversial when it first came up, but when you look at that during the construction of the highways here and whatever to allow another route to get south of town out there, and you see Dan O'Neill now putting up a new quick stop out there, and I really think that that's going to be a corridor that it will develop quickly once some of these other subdivisions get opened up.
Yeah, if there's one thing I've learned with all that, it's that, we get very excited about the new restaurant or the new retail store or the new apartment complex or those things. But if you think about the Buffalo Bill interchange, even think about the extension of Francis, which is now getting ready to move further east. You think about the area around the DNN, like where Sitting Bull and the new hotel is, and you think of all these projects that you spend money on as a community, but you don't, there's not a store or a house that I can go into a year later. But then all of a sudden, 5 or 10 years later, those become the building blocks for the future development. So it's been fun to watch it unfold a little bit. Yeah, it's got a little busier in your parking lot at Brothers here lately, hasn't it? You've got some fun neighbors.
Yeah. And it's nice to see the pavilion there fill back up, and open up, and got a lot of nice businesses in there and the Pizza Ranch, just opened up here recently, and so that's brought a lot of people down too. And we kind of laugh because a lot of times if they have children, why they're down there, and then the parents, or at least one of the parents, are down at our place.
Usually the dads, probably.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a gender bias comment there. Boy. Are we going to have to edit that?
Usually the moms are in the arcade with their kids.
I'm learning more about you guys by the moment, just sitting here. I haven't had to say a word.
So one question that I've been super excited to ask you guys about is, what are some memorable experiences or things that have happened since owning the bar? Even just one or two funny stories that you might be able to share. I'm sure that there's been some interesting experiences.
Well, there has, and most of them revolve around people who come in.
We've had to ask a few to leave, but for the most part, people are great. They're responsible, and if we say, well, it's time to maybe slow down, for the most part, everybody heeds our advice and stuff. But the funnest things is having the big celebrations, like business after hours. And we hosted once for you guys for the bank, and that is just a blast. It's hard work, but man, we have fun. And and then there's people that we've been open for some of the holidays, and when we didn't have hardly anybody, it was an Easter. It was not this last Easter, but the year ago. And we were sitting there thinking, this was not a good thing to do because we didn't have very many people. And all of a sudden, this young couple with some little kids came in, and they said, thank goodness you're open. We couldn't find any place open to eat, and we Googled and saw this place was open. And so, we fed them, and we gave the kids candy bars. Probably not a smart thing to do for them to get back into the car. We had a couple just the other day going through town on a motorcycle, and they stopped in. They found us online and talk, and I think that's the biggest thing, is meeting these people that's coming through town and having a good time and stuff. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. Like I say, I think most of that revolves around different customers that have come in. We had a man and his son come in. They were from Ireland. That was kind of interesting. One of the girls that works for us is from Slovakia. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think you've pretty well hit on it. It's just, being able to work with people and whatever and have fun with it. And that's what we said when we first got into this, that if it got to the point where it wasn't fun anymore, then we need to stop and reevaluate. But so far it's been fun. And like Mother said earlier there, it's kind of a family affair. So with the boys backing us up. And another thing that some of our friends said, well, it'd be real easy to do this because all you'd have to do is change the B to M, because I have always called her Mother, and her Husker played as Mother.
That would be that's cute.
Anyway, I said, well, the only thing is that when something happens to us, we have 2 boys, so it's going to be back to brothers, and then it'll make sense again.
And then the boys look at us and go, well, maybe we don't want it.
Yeah.
Well, but don't tell us that until after we're dead and gone.
Well, I love that. I love that your most memorable experiences are positive ones and related to people. I think you guys definitely have the right mindset to be able to do this.
There's nothing that really stands out in my mind, at least, that is the best story. It's just, like he said, all these people that come through, and we have gotten caught up on a lot of people that, because of our previous jobs, we were so busy doing that you just kind of lose contact with all of your friends and stuff.
Well, besides a place to relax, it's one of our true community gathering places, and those are important. If nothing else, through the pandemic and through the things, you realize how important those community gathering places exactly really are. I just want to thank you guys so much for coming in. We appreciate working with you business-wise, your friendship, and for coming in today. It's a real pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you for having us. This is
we always appreciate the bank, and all their people are friendly. Everybody's easy to work with, and like I say, they helped us when we first bought it, making everything just kind of fall into place. So we appreciate you guys too.
I always have to laugh that he'll come every day with the deposit bag and stuff, and there's days that he's gone like 30, 35, 40 minutes, and I'll go, what took you so long? And he goes, I got talking to so-and-so down at the bank, and this teller, or you name off the teller and stuff, and it's like, and so then it was a couple months ago, he was sick, so I had to come down and do it, and it's like they'd all said, where's Jim? Well.
Yeah.
It's Mother this time.
Yeah. Exactly.
We don't have to do that 1-800-GAMBLERS line because we talked about Keno earlier, do we, Danielle?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. We're going to skip that unless the compliance officer says otherwise.
There you go.
Well, anything else that you guys want to share with our listeners?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, other than the fact that come on down to Brothers for the football games. We'll have Big Red on every TV we have, and we'll have the drawings, we'll have food specials, we'll have drink specials, and that'll be for every Husker game, so come on down.
Well, that wraps up this episode. We hope you enjoyed learning about Jim and Janelle's journey from City Hall and nursing to the Brothers Bar, the challenges they faced and their vision for the future. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe, and don't forget to share it with your friends. Don't hesitate to reach out to us for comments, feedback, or questions by visiting our website, NebraskaLandBank.com/podcast, and of course, member FDIC.